Hi, chess friends. This is Sir Glenn for another edition of opening study. This time, titignan natin yung part 2 ng Sicilian Dragon mainline, which um, natapos ko nang gawin yung part 1. So, yung part 2 contains the Soltis version ng mainline Dragon, which comes after the moves e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, takes, knight f6, knight c3, g6, which initiates the dragon, bishop e3, bishop g7, f3, knight c6, queen d2, castle kingside, bishop c4, which initiates the Yugoslav variation or Yugoslav attack variation, bishop d7. Okay. Now, I just like to mention yung move order tricks dito, no? Early move orders. Kung if white wants, he can castle queenside here, but he gives black the option to play the Chinese dragon, which starts after castle, castle queenside, and then rook b8. No? Kapag nag-castle queenside yung rook b8, which is the Chinese dragon. So here, white plays h4, which renders the Chinese dragon uh, unfavorable kasi kapag nag-RB8 siya, H5 would be strong for white kasi hindi pa nakapag-castling yung white sa queen side. Let's go back. So instead of rook b8, black would be best to play rook c8 here. Pero pag nag-rook c8 kasi, no, actually pag nag-rook c8 may possibility ng knight takes knight, no? So actually after rook c8, probably knight takes knight, which was played which can be played to confuse black on some move orders, which either to play bishop takes a knight or pawn takes knight, no? And then either way, white can continue with h5. So the best move would be h5, transposing to the Soltis and castle queenside. Ngayon kung nag-bishop b3 ang white, black can opt for another reliable system, which is called the Topalov system after knight takes, bishop takes c5 and b5, which white can which favors black after castle queenside, but after castle kingside, maybe there's an extra h4 pawn move here na might be uncomfortable for white to play kasi dyan siya nag-castle kingside, no? So instead of bishop b3, castle kingside, and after rook c8, bishop b3, knight e5, and white has the option to play bishop h6 or bishop g5 and rook c5. Yan ang ating focus ng ating study. But let me just go to the sideline in case white plays bishop h6 directly from this position, bishop h6, no? Gusto ko lang i-mention yung line ng black in case he choose to play that, play bishop h6, no? So one option here is to play takes, and after queen takes, rook takes, pawn takes rook, and queen a5, which ang idea ng black is to have some exchange sacrifice compensation in form of queenside attack against white's king. Let's say for example white played queen e3, rook c8, and king b2. um, well, we can play queen maybe b5 will do, b5, and let's say for example is rook he1. Teka lang, b5, no, sabihin natin g4 para mas direct yung atake, takes, and then h5. Naku, mukhang pasok yung attack ng white, no? After h5. Kasi after knight takes here, rook takes h5 is very strong. Kasi hindi niya pwedeng i-interpose yung knight niya because of queen takes g6. If king moves, let's say for example here, and then white can continue his attack undisturbed by playing queen takes h5, threatening mate here. He goes back here, rook h1 finishes black. So, uh, g4 seems a strong idea. Let's see how about knight c4. Check. Rosado kainin. Rook takes. And now, let's see if White's idea would continue. Sabi nila malakas yung atake ng White dito if he can play f5, f4, f5, g5, knight, f4 with the idea of f5. No? Let's try to see. So this position actually favors White, especially if f5 is played once f4 f5 is achieved. So instead of b5, which is medyo mabagal, I recommend to play queen c5. Why? Because after let's say for example white plays f4, knight eg4, queen f3. Kailangan kasi may suporta yung queen sa c3. And after e5, then black gets the counterplay. There takes knight e2 and then bishop b5 with good play for black. So for example g4, I think black can play pawn takes g4. And if white, kung sinubukan ng white na i-continue dati yung attack, I don't think it works kasi black can play pawn takes pawn, queen g5 at king h7. I don't see any way to continue the attack. And like for example, um, white is careless. Uh, he can lose his queen if this knight moves. So let's say for example, white plays rook takes h5, knight takes queen takes, and then king g7 with the threat of knight discovery. So hindi pwedeng rook h1 kasi pag rook h1, black will simply play check here, and after capture into queen, I think black is better. And if white continues with check, and then black can actually play knight g6, I think, yes, with the threat of either queen takes pawn or queen takes queen. So this is not possible because after takes king b1, black will simply play this, or even this, I think, queen takes pawn, and knight f queen f4 if the rook moves. Let's say for example the rook moves here or on c1, maybe here on c1, and then queen f4 saves the knight. Again, favors black. So instead, after g4 takes, white can play f4, but after knight c4 check, bishop takes knight, queen takes knight, it's not so easy for white to continue the attack. Hindi madali para sa puti na maghanap ng continuation sa atake niya kasi pag h5 kakainin lang ng pawn h5, and I've shown the variation already, and this time without the light square bishop, so hindi ganun kadelikado. If f5, black will simply play pawn takes f5, pawn takes f5, and amazingly bishop takes pawn kasi after knight takes bishop check, he was kind, wala nang masyadong dita yung atake ng white. Actually, just to show you one game played by Masters. Here from this position, black has the possibility to play rook takes knight, which is looks amazing at first because pwedeng kumain muna ng bishop dito yung white. B takes rook would just transpose to bishop takes let's say if pawn, then takes dito, takes, and then queen e5 magta-transpose lang sa line natin kanina. But instead, if white plays bishop takes g7, amazingly black plays rook takes c2. And after king takes g7, and um, has the following position. Black has two pawns and a knight for the exchange. Plus, solid yung king side niya. Siya yung aatake sa white. And just to show you the rest of the game, it's black played b5, and after g4, same procedure. Now he has the move rook h8 dahil nasa g7 and king. So after rook h8, takes, f4, ayan, nagkaroon na ng possibility niyan. Queen e2, takes h1, and then e5. Black again gains the same counterplay. Takes, knight b5, knight takes b5, and bishop c6. Okay, this game is very exciting. It was drawn after 43 moves, but from this position we can already see what kind of counterplay black has. If bishop takes knight, and then bishop takes pawn, and then bishop takes rook on the next move. So, yeah. Okay, so from this position, let's proceed with the normal play again. Bishop takes bishop, queen takes bishop, rook takes queen e5. Now, instead of queen e3, how about white plays king b2, which happens in the game sa C. Emil versus Sakhartsov Vladimir's Budapest 2012, last year lang. After king b2, rook c8, and then queen d2. Black obtained the same counterplay by playing queen c5. And this time nagkunat yung white, rook h e1. Now black will push his a and b pawns for counterplay. So f4, c4, takes, queen d3, and then queen a4. Again, this is with counterplay. If we do not exchange queen kasi nga material up yung white. Let's say for example, white plays rook b1, which was played in the game. Black gains the same counterplay by playing e5. Again, yung threat ng takes, and then bishop b5, bishop c4 is quite annoying for white, no? Halimbawa, nag-takes dito, takes knight b3. May possibility na mag bishop e6 or mag bishop p5 yung black dito, no? And again, the same idea, may counterplay yung black. Actually, bishop c6 is also good kasi may pressure sa e4 pawn. So just to show you some possibilities after e5, na sinasabi ko nga na may counterplay na yung black after e5. Now, let's say for example, you say to yourself, well, masyadong complicated yung line na yun. Ayoko ng exchange sacrifice. Gusto ko ng medyo mas normal ng konti. Well, actually, pwede naman yung normal talaga. Knight c4, bishop takes c4, rook takes c4. Yan yung normal line, which leads to a clear-cut variation. Let's say for example, g4, same thing. And then h5. Again, we still have the same move, rook h8. And after takes, well, black is fine here. Actually, he has a choice here. He can play normally by playing b3 and then rook c5. Well, I like to point out na yung old line na e5 does not work, or fair, or transposes to a kind of play na mayroong counter play na malakas yung black. For example, takes, takes. So, mapapansin nyo, white has won the exchange, but black has a very dangerous looking pass pawns sa king side. And I believe that in this position, black is better and might be probably winning pa nga. So instead, we have to play b3. After rook c5, fg4. Now, if we play knight takes, medyo delikado kasi may knight jump doon. So bishop takes g4, knight d5, still the same tactic. Takes, rook takes. Uh, and after queen d7, um, queen g2, after rook g5, white has a very nice tactic, knight f3. But I believe black still has counterplay here. Actually, meron akong iibahin ng konti, no? Kasi yung rook ko diyan expose eh. Let's try to uh, shackle it a bit. Here, I think this is better. Um, Kasi if bishop takes d1, queenless ang black. So, hindi possible yan. So, yan na. Mas maganda yung version na yan. King g2, g5, and then knight f3. But again, sabi ko may counterplay ang black kasi after the following moves, queen e6, uh, although lugi sa exchange yung black, may laban siya kasi bishop in two pawns versus rook and a solid king's position. So black is okay here. And also I'd like to mention na yung direct attack here instead of going to bishop g5 line, like for example g4 takes. Here Libojevic against Miles played bishop h6. Does not work because after e6, rook dg1, queen f6. I believe black has enough counterplay. Black has enough counterplay here. For example, white captures the pawn here, black plays this, and then exchange queens. And white's attack is over. So instead, white has to capture the bishop. Sorry. White has to capture the bishop, and after queen takes dito ng pawn, knight f6, threatening knight takes pawn. And white has nothing better but to play g5, knight h5. Again, sarado uli yung king side. At the bishop on b3, take note na yung bishop on b3, wala na siyang scope dahil sa nag-iba na yung structure, yung pawn structure. Tapos yung h-file, wala na rin dahil nagkaroon na ng takip yung butas, no? So I guess here it's equal, pero in the game Libojevic Miles was able to win against Libojevic. I'll just show the rest of the game without further comment. Here Libojevic played knight 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 c2, and then after that Miles played knight c4. And after knight c4, queen b4, a5, medyo naligaw na yung queen. No? I don't think queen b4 is accurate, pero that's what happened in the game. Takes. And knight e5, solid pa rin ang position ni Miles. c3, b3, c5. So that's the position. Although pwede natin sabihin na still complicated pa ang position, but Miles obtained a very solid position. But later in the way, medyo nagkamali si Miles at nanalo pa rin si actually nanalo si Miles pero muntik siyang nadali ni Libojevic. Okay? If you want, you can research it. The game happens in Brussels in 1986 between Ligio Bojovic and Miles. Okay. Okay, so then some players tried to switch the move orders and invented something. No, let me just check. So here, White plays Bishop G5 first before playing G4. Ang idea kasi ng puti dyan, kapag kumain yung black, for example, tumira lang siya ng kung ano dyan, for example, rook E8, at tumira ng G4, after takes here, merong intermediate move na Bishop takes F6, which increases his chance na magkaroon ng atake sa H5 dahil walang magna knight takes H5. Yun yung pinaka basic idea ng white. But instead of rook E8, the accurate move is RC5, projecting a lateral defense dito sa fifth rank. No? The idea of this move is quite deep, so I will discuss it later. But after Bishop G5, Rook C5, what was played was G4, and after pawn takes pawn, Rook DG1. Uso yan yung ganyang klaseng atake. No? It looks very strong kasi after nga naman, for example, black plays knight takes pawn, knight takes knight, pawn takes knight. White's attack looks very menacing after bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, and then rook takes g6. No? Parang ano na, decisive na. After bg7, patong or queen h6, and white can win any way he wants. So here in this position, black plays b5, and we can see that white's attack is not so scary at all. Kasi for example, bishop takes f6, bishop takes h5, g5 keeps the h5 close. And if white plays h5, simply knight takes h5, and after pawn takes, bishop takes, white, I mean black holds the position together. Let's say for example knight d5, rook e8, bishop h6. Black will simply play e6, and after takes, it's not so easy for white's knight to move dahil yung possibility ng knight f3. And if white continues with f4, black surprisingly plays b4. And it goes to a very complicated line after knight d5. Knight takes e4, and then takes, and then takes here. White plays bishop takes rook. And after king takes bishop, it's not so easy. Kasi black threatens knight takes bishop, or maybe knight ef3. So takes mo na ron, and then black plays surprising bishop h6. So white king has to move, but after he moves, black plays pawn takes e5, and once the knight moves here, tama ba ako? Black will play bishop c6, which wins material. Actually, in the game, what was played was rh2, and after knight f3, rook f2, bishop e3, white resigned. And this is just an example of how powerful black's counter attack can be. So in this position, after g4, some players prefer to play bishop takes f6, which is, I think, harmless for black kasi after bishop g5, h5, g5, um, and knight d5, well, black can go for this structure. Yan. So as you can see, although may pass po ng white sa h5, sarado yung h file for attack. And let's say for example, after a5, black has a decent chance for counterplay. Let's say for example, rook h1, queen e7. So after black plays f6, magiging solid na yung pawn structure niya dito sa center going to the king side. And it is quite, let's say for instance, white plays a3 kasi nga kukulungin siya ng black. Black plays double rooks. And after c3, bishop b5, threatening knight d3 check, takes bishop a2. Well, black is solid, and you can expect an equal fight with um, fighting against the bad bishop, knight versus bad bishop. Another idea is that after g4, h4, bishop takes f5. Instead of h5, white plays f4. And then after knight c4, queen e2, the accurate move here, the correct move here is to play queen c8, which neutralizes the f5 break by white and threatens knight takes p2. Um, Possible continuation would be, for example, f5, and after knight takes, king takes, rook takes, tama ba ako? Pawn takes, black now plays the surprising rook takes bishop. And after it's taken, simply, actually, mali yung tinira ko. Kasi dito, lamang ang black dahil buhay yung bishop sa f6, no? Wait lang. So from here, g4 takes, instead of bishop takes f6, f4, yan pala yan. Knight c4, queen e2, queen c8. And after f5, yan yung binabanggit ko kanina. Pawn takes, rook takes. Yan position na yan. So in this position, I think it's quite equal for black in terms of position. Let's say for example, white continues queen c5 lang, and I think black can hold the position. So let's assess the position. White has 4 pawns, black has 6 pawns. So basically, black has a bishop and 2 pawns for the rook. So I hope you enjoyed my video, and for my next wait for my next installment. I will discuss another line from the main line Sicilian Dragon. Thank you for watching, guys, and don't forget to click like and subscribe. Have a nice day.